You know, it's interesting. If you had asked me about this idea maybe 3 weeks ago, I probably would have taken you up on that offer. But now, looking at this Detroit Red Wings right side decor, I kind of feel like it's not needed anymore. But I digress. What exactly is it that we're talking about? Well, today I wanted to dive onto MSN.com. Yeah, that's right. Remember the old messaging service on the Windows computers, MSN? Well, they have themselves a website, and they published this article earlier last month. And it talks about a very particular idea that I thought was honestly a really good one back when it was proposed. But now, thinking about how the Detroit Red Wings have improved this element of their roster, that right side decor is looking stellar with Mo Seider, Axel Sandin Pellikka, and Jacob Bernard Docker, I no longer think that LA Kings defenseman Brandt Clarke is somebody that the team should go after. Or at least, they could. It'd be nice, it'd be interesting, but is he needed? Not too sure anymore. Let's go out there and read this article over here. Again, it's back from the beginning of September. And I think it's really funny to dive into what this piece says because it just kind of talks about why this need existed for the Detroit Red Wings at that time. The Wings have been active this offseason aiming to break a 9-year playoff drought. After strengthening goaltending with John Gibson and adding forwards JVR and Mason Appleton, the team also made key defensive moves, bringing in Travis Hamonic and Jacob Bernard Docker. Yet, experts suggest Detroit still has one glaring need: a top 4 right-shot defenseman. Brandt Clarke of the LA Kings has emerged as a prime trade candidate. Now, the article then says here that Brandt Clarke would be a perfect fit for the Wings, and we can dive into all that later, but I just wanted to talk about the profile here first. Brandt Clarke is 22 years old, right-handed defenseman, 6'2", 201, signed on till the end of this season on his entry-level contract. A former 8th overall pick back in 2021, I remember Brandt Clarke in the draft season that was because he was essentially compared to a right-handed version of Quinn Hughes. He moves, he can score, he can create offense, he can man a point. There's a lot to like out of Brandt Clarke, and it's why he went so high in that NHL draft. Now, he took a little bit of time to develop before inevitably becoming a full-time LA Kings defenseman last season, scoring 33 points in 78 games. This year, he's got 2 points in 6 games played, on pace for about 28 over the full calendar year, and he's been played, let's just say, 14 to 19 minutes a night, roughly in the 17-minute range if you average everything out. The problem with Brandt Clarke is that he kind of suffered from the same fate that Jordan Spence suffered from with the LA Kings. Uncertainty as to whether or not the team truly valued him long-term, and an apparent willingness to move on from their services. We saw Jordan Spence get traded over to Ottawa. Brandt Clarke, though, he was included in limited trade discussions as well, which is why this article on MSN.com went out there and spoke about Clarke as a perfect fit for the Wings. A former 22-year-old 8th overall pick has been the subject of trade discussion over some time. Lyle Richardson recently ranked him number 5 on his NHL trade board for Bleacher Report, noting the ongoing questions about his future in LA. Russo shared that Russo said that the Kings GM Ken Holland wants to watch Clarke's performance this season before making a decision. That could make him a player of interest in this season's rumor mill, especially if the Kings struggle in the Western Conference playoff race. Now, the article says here that for Detroit, Clarke offers both immediate and long-term benefits. His offensive upside could provide a boost on the power play, while pairing him with Seider on the right of the blue line could form a dynamic youthful duo for years to come. Now that doesn't really make sense, does it? Pair Clarke with Seider on the right side? They're both righties. I don't understand what this paragraph is saying here. But essentially, it dives into the idea of Clarke being added to this blue line. And honestly, like, if you had asked me just 3 weeks ago, I'd have been like, yeah, you have a whole bunch of uncertainty with the Detroit Red Wings right side on the blue line. You've got extra guys rotating around there like Gustafsson. You've got Justin Hall. You've got Travis Hamonic. We all recognize that Hall really leaves a lot more to be desired, and Travis Hamonic is like Hall 2.0. So when Gustafsson and Hall got waived, it was almost like a big sign from the heavens above that Steve Yzerman was listening to the fans, because Axel Sandin-Pellikka, oh boy, you needed a right-handed defenseman? You got a right-handed top four defenseman right there, baby. And Jacob Bernard-Docker is a very solid bottom-pairing guy who provides a lot more stability than Travis Hamonic could even dream of at this point in his career. This decor, despite the fact that it's quite young, and despite the fact that the only old guy is Ben Sherratt, this is a really solid decor that we have here with the Detroit Red Wings. And Brandt Clarke, all the respect in the world to Brandt Clarke. I had him in a bunch of fantasy leagues last year. He was a very underrated name because of how kind of obscure he was in fantasy drafts and whatnot. The fact is, this guy was pretty good, but now he's the subject of uncertainty in LA, which is quite interesting because you think about the priority that the Kings seem to place on older guys like Drew Doughty and Joel Edmondson, for example. They let Vladislav Gavrikov go too. No more Gavrikov, no more Spence, and now you got Brandt Clarke potentially getting traded as well. Man, things are going to be changing quite heavily for the LA Kings. Brian Dumoulin's a top pairing guy on that team. How interesting is that? Also, Cody Ceci. Big shout out to him over there as well. At least Clarke's playing more than Ceci is, eh? But ultimately, even though it would have been kind of a reasonable thought to have of Clarke heading over to Detroit, now, with hindsight included, it's a lot easier to say that this group of guys is a lot better than anything the Red Wings could have traded away to get Clarke onto their team, and just think about that series of transactions there. Would you have just gone in-house? You just wanted to get the guys that are already in your organization and have them play well like this? Or would you have wanted to go out there and shell out some assets to get a guy like Clarke, whom you're not even sure is going to be guaranteed to being okay with Detroit in the first place? Axel Sandin-Pellikka, what a total stud this guy is. He's changed everything for the Detroit Red Wings back end, and ultimately, the Wings are better for it. Just for craps and giggles, the article goes out there and talks about how Heavy Sports suggested a package for Brandt Clarke, which would include Detroit's 2026 first-round pick, a 2028 fourth-round pick, and prospect Shai Buium. Yeah, the Red Wings can keep these assets here. 2026 first-round pick, a fourth, and Shai, too? That's a lot. I get it, Brandt Clarke was a former top player, 8th overall guy, there's a lot of pedigree there, but I can't look at that trade idea seriously. Either way, if you're a Detroit Red Wings fan, I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Revisiting the Brandt Clarke to Detroit trade rumors, what are your thoughts on how that looks nowadays, and how happy are you, or potentially unhappy? I don't know the psyche of every fan in the world, but I'm going to assume happy. How happy are you with these pairings right here and this right side? Seider, Sandin-Pellikka, Bernard-Docker. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to hit the like button. If you didn't, hey, the dislike button's down there for you too. Thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. Sign on, and bye.